المملة من دكتور إفرم يلديز اللشانة آتورايا.
Now we have a presentation with the full Professor Efrem Yildiz, a professor of Hebrew and Aramaic Studies in the University of Salamanca. Please welcome.
Shalom aleichem, hartabshena b'tawata teilochen. It's just to welcome you in our mother tongue. So, and I will go ahead with the conference in English because there are many people who probably have also some other inconveniences, especially for honor guests, and that's why I'm going to read in English. As you have seen in the information, it was just a general title which was given in the information, but my aim was to talk about the necessity of a phenomenon that has been mentioned. How can we keep alive our language, which is the main mean of our identification process? And I have been working on this topic a long time ago, and I have been also looking at the possibilities how we can convert it in a professional way, that our young generation is not only fluent in speaking, but also understanding, analyzing the language in itself. I'm following a kind of PowerPoint presentation, but I'm going a bit bad in order to clarify some terminological definitions, Aramaic, Assyrian, and so on. Why we do call our language this and that? Because each time we are together, we have this problem, this inconvenience. I don't know why I hear this from there. Let's go back to the even 4th millennium before Christ. When Europe came in touch with the Eastern world again after many centuries, they started defining our language according to their schemes. We have a branch of Semitic languages, like we have a branch of Indo-European languages or Uralic languages. But the Semitic language structure has been, in reality, it's the fruit of a work which has been done in Western world. We were always lazy in that sense. But some inconveniences have been created according to the sources that came to us. These denominations, for example, we have a Proto-Semitic language from which we have 3 main linguistic families. We have Northeastern Semitic family, which is Akkadian, from which then 2 main languages or dialects came, Assyrian and Babylonian, which have come to us through the cuneiform script. Okay? Then we have a northwestern Semitic branch, which is Aramaic and Canaan language. I will then develop the Aramaic side. The Canaan one, I'm trying to simplify it. Okay, it's much more complicated, and then because I'm just trying to give you the traditional division, which is based upon, in certain way, a geographical division. So Mesopotamia is northeastern. The so-called Syria and Palestine is northwestern, Aramaic and Canaanite. From the Canaanite comes then down the Hebrew, Phoenician, Moabite, Elamite, and so on. And then we have a third linguistic group, which is southwestern one, which is Arabic and Ethiopian. This is the simplest way of telling you how the Semitic linguistic family is divided. Okay? So we are in Syria, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Arabian Insul, and Ethiopia. Kush, as we say in our language. So now let's come back to the Aramaic language. I think to speak about only one Aramaic language is, in my opinion, a mistake. It's a linguistic family inside a branch, a main branch. There are different Aramaic languages, whether we want or not. There are many people who speaks it in a different way. Let's only as a slide just tell about we Assyrians. We became. I'm coming to talk about it. We became Aramaic speaking people too. Okay, like the Nabateans, like the Mandeans, like the Arsacids, like the Mandeans, Nabateans, Palmyreans, and so on. This is why we have 5 huge periods of language. When I speak about periods, I mean these periods are based only on this written transmission. It's not based on the oral transmission of the language. So if we talk about the Aramaic, ancient Aramaic language, it's more or less, depends, there are 2 opinions, 2100 or 11th, 10th century before Christ until the 9th century or even 8th century. This is the ancient part of the Aramaic language, which is characterized by different dialects, would I say, which start from Aram Gesher till Kwe or Arpad or Patina or Bit Zamani or Bit Adini and so on. So these are the different Aramean states that were afterwards totally absorbed by the Assyrian power and Assyrian society. So they were absolutely also assimilated as a social phenomenon in the Assyrian society. But what happened when the Assyrians came in touch with these Aramean groups, and they were, many of them, they were deported in the Assyrian heartland. The reason why today we call our language sometimes Aramaic is due to this fact that those who were deported in the Assyrian heartland gradually, you know, Dar Khanaid, as we say, Zona al-Zona, it became as a second language, and then it eclipsed, indeed, the Assyrian imperial one as mean or medium of communication. That's why when the Achaemenid power came to the power, they didn't change only the language and the administrative system, which were just used as a common mean of the society. That's why we shifted, and there's no other simple reason than the following. Imagine our ancient language is written in cuneiform script. Ninab is here. Where is Ninab? He knows a lot about this topic. At least 613 syllables you need to write in your original language. And if you compare it with other 22 letters or consonants, which then became 27 and at least 29, imagine, honestly, if I ask you, what would you choose, 613 to learn or 22? This is the main reason why the Aramaic script became also Assyrian script. During centuries, it was called Assyrian scripts not by us, but by the Jews who were settled in Babylonia. Then, when Western world came in touch and they rediscovered all what they discovered, so the structures were based on this documents, sources, and so on. And that's why we have this problem. What are we going to call our language and this and that? That's why I'm going to use sometimes Aramaic, other times, depending on the period, Assyrian, other times, and so on. So according to this this ancient period is ancient Aramaic, and then we have imperial Aramaic, which started even during the Assyrian power. Then it was developed during the Persian time. This is the Imperial Aramaic, which comes down till the Greek invasion at the 4th century before Christ, 334 BC. From then onward, there's another phenomenon we have to consider, which is the split of the Aramaic or Assyrian language in different separated, isolated sections. That's why we are, from then onward, the language is divided into Western and Eastern. The division has become so hard that the Western and Eastern is also based on geographical division and so on. And then we have middle as third, and a late as fourth, and the modern as the last. So these 5 periods are still there. And now the question to us, well, how are we going to call our language? Is Assyrian, of course, those Assyrians who speak Aramaic language, we could say Assyrian Aramaic, no problem, I don't have any problem to call it. But we should not confuse the linguistic denomination with the ethnic denomination. This is the biggest problem the Assyrian community is facing with. So I'm not going to enter in these details. As ethnic member of, I'm Assyrian. My language is Aramaic. The Israelis, they are Israelis, they speak Hebrew, and they don't have any problem with that. They don't call it Israeli because they are Israelis. So we should not waste energy and time on these discussions which lead only to the divisions. We have to unify. We have to try to put the forces together. Now let's go to the main point, which I was. How long do I have time? Okay, I'm going to be short. Nina asked for other 10 minutes, but I'm going to ask for other 5. So, this is my concern is not only to regain the territory, but my concern is to maintain my identity wherever I am. And the best way of maintaining the identity is the language. A people, a nation, without its own language, there's no chance. But we are facing with a reality. We are living in diaspora, immigration to the Western countries. Susan Gustin mentioned it in a very clear and nice and professional way. She was impressed seeing that there are groups who are maintaining the language. But let's be also honest, she sees it as an outsider. I see it as an insider. This being fluent into languages is well done. Are we prepared to teach or to transmit this tradition to our kids? This is my concern. Being fluent just in, saying the basic of a language, the main phrases, the daily life is not enough. Because gradually it will become less weak and so on. What we have to work on is, this experience has been developed in the last time, is how to prepare a child who is fruit of 2 worlds, Western and Eastern. How to transmit him not only the main basis of the language, but also the culture, also the history, and so on. That's why I said it's good to arrive to the level to dream in the same language. Let's skip to the other one. Yeah, that's okay. There are different theories upon how one can become bilingual, fluent at a level, 2nd, 3rd level. I'm going to jump because we don't have time, enough time. Go to the group identity and the bilingualism, the next one. This process is very important to deal with. We have a huge experience in the past tense. We were the first bilingual society. So the bilingualism is not invented, I don't know where, but it was used as a natural process. And that's why even the coexistence of different societies led to a new phenomenon that a society which was monolingual became bilingual. We had Assyrian kings that were totally bilingual. Let's skip to the other one. This is next one, please. The process of bilingualism application to the Assyrian in diaspora. This is what we should work on. This is what should concern any Assyrian family and also Assyrian leaders, because we try to transmit the language. We try to transmit also a heritage, but it's not going to be enough. Why? Because the process which is applied, I think, if I have been in France, in Belgium, in Germany, in USA, it's even worse. I'm sorry for those who come from USA. Because they think as first language, the local language is logical. But what is needed to fill both languages as their own? And this is the point we have to work on. I can give you an example. Yesterday we were talking about this process, and I applied to my own kids. This is not a theory. I did it. Till my son was 7 years, he didn't know that I could speak fluent Spanish. But I realized when he started going to school, he started having a kind of complexes. Skip to the other one. Yeah. My son, I told it yesterday, he said, Dad, when he started school going with his friends who were Spanish, said, Dad, from here onward, don't tell me in my language. And then just a slight of light came to my intelligence, as a professor, that I failed there. I was so concentrated on the language, I didn't give him other elements through which he could feel as an Assyrian. Traditional elements, aspects, proud, historical points. I gave the example of having a horse in the heart of Qala palace, which is an Assyrian. So the identification process through the language, but giving them images, symbols, positive symbols, not telling them, I haven't told them until they were just 15, 16 about the genocide. Because this creates a kind of, we are having an inferiority complex in the society. I'm not going to give him more ways of becoming much more complex. So this is also a duty of those who are dealing with linguistic, socio-cultural aspects, that they have to work out how to transmit those elements through which the kid of 3, 4, 5, 6, till he becomes adult, can feel proud. Let's jump to the other one. So what must we do? This is exactly what we have to do, is to transmit them those elements to the kids at the first stage. Then we have to look for other, how would I say, means. Human resources, investment on human resources, educational projects, schooling materials. This is an important point. Look to what Nina on the side is doing at the Cambridge University. This is a huge work. You should support it. Educational projects. There are so many ways of building. We Assyrians generally, all branches, we have the habit, or even a kind of inconvenience. We complain. We cry too much. And we have good intention at the same time. But with good intentions, we are not going to succeed in our goals. We have to put on the way those ideas which are really worth a work. And these projects should be absolutely supported by the community. We can work, but don't forget, I do it because I love my people for the first year. Second year, I do it because I feel it as an obligation. Third year, I'll become tired and I will have a look to where to go and to feed myself and to where. We have brilliant staff, human resources, but you don't care of them. They are totally abandoned, like Elio. You know what a sacrifice did this guy in Turabdin? I was with him. And it was the first time I felt proud, but on the same time sadness, because he was alone. And these aspects are your duty to cultivate, to support, but not in a merciful way. Just ask for mercy. I'm tired to ask for helps as a mercy. It's our obligation to support such initiatives. Look, the Mara project. They have been doing a huge work. And I'm realizing that it's going to die if you don't support it. And so on. This financial support for the creation of many teaching seats institutions, this is the dream I have started without any help of you, in a very silent way. And I'm not going to I don't need to tell you that I have done this and that. Please do not misunderstand me. But we can do many things. But if you don't use the public resources, the public universities and so on, the project is not going to have the results we are looking for. So we have to use, as I told you yesterday, I started from zero. It's a state university. It's one of the 4 oldest universities of the world. From zero. When I came, there was only a biblical Aramaic course, a semester course. Now you have, I'll tell about it. European universities. We are in Europe, but we don't use all the possibilities that we have in our hands. Okay? Europe has adopted a totally new system, educational system, which has gathered all the systems together. We have 4+1 or 3+2 study plan system, 240 ECTS credits. This can be done in Spain, in Germany, in Sweden, and in every European country. We should concentrate our attention in those centers where there is a Semitic long study tradition. And if you see, we have different universities where the language is taught. But we should be conscious of fact. When we talk about Semitic languages, the modern Aramaic part is absolutely ignored, besides a center I'm going to tell. Why? Because we don't have people prepared at an academic level. Everybody means he knows the language well if he reads correctly, if he analyzes the language, and that's all. This is typical liturgical tradition that we have from Tobonoyo to make Pushaka in order to tell the community what we are reading. That's not enough. And everybody means if he is a deacon, he is perfect in the language. That's not enough. That's why we need professionals who are able to make a comparison between the ancient, middle, late, and modern language in order to recreate, in order to purify. You know how rich your language, my language is? But we are used to use much more loan words from Turkish, Arabic, Kurdish, Persian, and now German of the community who is living, Swedish, and so on. They are coming in. This is a process of, coexisting. So this is not a very me, but if you have a word, your own word, you should put it. I'm not against the loan words. It's a sign of living together. So according to this, next one, please. Yeah, this. According to this manner of thinking, I started making a kind of study plans at the University of Salamanca. We are collaborating with the Semitic tradition, but now there are two fronts where Arabic language is pushing in a direction, and Hebrew and Aramaic in another one, because of strategies of every typical university process. Why are they fusing? Because of economical reasons. No other reason is given. What is not, if you invest and you have losses, you are not going to invest in it. But in the human resources, we should not deal in this way. But what makes me a bit, what gives me some concerns is our Assyrian community in their different branches are not concerned about how to help in an intelligent and efficient way those centers where really the language is kept and is cultivated. This is why we have to look for the 21st century's possibilities, not just living with the past tense. Past tense is, you can't forget it, but work on it, improve it, challenge it, get wider in the sense of using the language in this sense. So we have a whole process of combination. Please go to the other one. Now let's go to the Spanish universities where I manage what is being doing in this or in that university. We have, for example, in the Semitic environment, Estudios Semíticos and Islámicos, Semitic and Islamic studies, who are supported in a wonderful way by different Arabic countries. Universidad Complutense de Madrid is one of the biggest. They have also Estudios Semíticos. Universidad de Barcelona, University of Barcelona and Granada, they do have the same Semíticos. And degree, according to the new European Bolognian law, we started creating the Grado en Estudios Hebreos y Arameos, where a huge amount of courses upon language, go to the other one, please. Language, literature, history, and literary texts are given and prepared. Just as a slide, if you go to the next one, because I use from a linguistic point of view Aramaic term, but when I use it in my classes, I use it as it deserves. So we have a whole structure based on our language, starting from the ancient till the modern one. We have added to that, if you see, Lengua Aramea Uno, this is an official study plan. It's not my invention or the fruit of our gathering. This is approved by a state. An official title is given to this. This is the first step we started with. We have a second step where a master is given, and then those who want to continue within their studies, they are arriving to the doctorate. Next July, we are defending the first dissertation upon the studies of the Nisibin school, the school of Nisibi, at a doctorate level. So the same aim is we have 3-year full language courses from the ancient, and the last one is the modern one. What I manage is the Surat one. So that's why, could you please give me, the book is in my laptops, but I forgot it. what we have been doing is not only to give the course, but we have to provide them also with the means. You can't say, okay, I'm teaching you, take your notes, and that's all. So that's why, since we started, I started writing a grammar, a very practical grammar, which has or contains the script, the phonetics, the morphology, the syntax, and a huge amount of bibliography, references. It's written in Spanish because I thought on my students and my kids first, and the community, Assyrian community, which is huge in Southern America, is being translated into French, and hopefully, I hope that the Assyrian community would contribute funding it for the English translation. This has come out last year, at the end of the last year, and is used as a manual for our students. So what do I want to transmit here is we have to work in an efficient way. Efficient way means providing all means that are needed for a well and profound preparation of those aspects that you are dealing with. And for me, they are language. Go to the last one. So we do not only give language, linguistic, literature, history, but we give also traditions. How can I teach the Aramaic language to a foreigner without telling him, as first step, who were the Aramaic-speaking cultures or people? This is why we have a whole semester telling about how many people became Aramaic-speaking cultures. One of them, they were the Assyrians. Then, if I don't tell them what delicious plates we have, how we were in the ancient time, how our traditions are, the language is going to become a bit, how would I say, only theory. That's why we added also an Assyrian tradition or Chaldo-Assyrian tradition course. You have to tell them why you dance hand by hand. This makes parts also of learning a language, because this is the way to see your manner of thinking from inside, not as an outsider. This is the manner of seeing how the Assyrian community thinks and reasons and lives. If the language is not applied to a reality, it becomes just a kind of theory. I'm finishing, just a minute. So now the question to you, and the question to every Assyrian soul around the world. Are we supporting as it deserves the Assyrian question in reality? We shouldn't be so negative. This is the question now. We should not only work on different lobbies, politics, but we should start from the basis. The basis, whether we want or not, if we want to be realistic, is language. And then we can build upon that part. So there are different centers who are working in a silent way. Now, probably you know, imagine the huge work has been done at the Cambridge University through NINEP and the staff who is working with him. Such a stuff must be supported not only by word, but only by means. Mara project, they have collected a huge amount of documentation which is not studied. You should find out, to find 3 scholarships to work those works now. Not going to Susan Gusen and telling her, is there any German interested in this stuff? So, you want being Ghanan Beganan, which was yesterday. This is also part of it. Do you want to become a real people? Start by yourself. Don't look to the foreigner's mercy hand. We have learned this, and it's a kind of distraction because we look always what the others are going to do for us. But with the language, we can do it by ourselves, especially the modern one. Thank you for your attention.